It's Maggie Wild, the Potentialist. I wanted to pop in today and just give you a quick craving control technique which will help interrupt the neural pathways, interrupt the urge or the craving that's going on in your head. You've got to think about an urge or a craving as just a habitual sequence of electrical surges following a pathway in the brain that your brain has been following for years, kind of the path of least resistance. And the longer you've been doing it, the easier that flow of energy gets triggered. The more often it gets triggered, the more regularly it gets triggered, and the more easily it gets triggered. And the more easily it gets triggered, the stronger it feels, and it feels like you're out of control. It feels like the chocolate is calling you from the fridge or the cupboard, or that the chocolate down the supermarket aisle that's on sale 2 for 1 just has to be in your trolley. Or bread or wine or cakes or whatever it is for you. And some of it's savory and salty, like chips and hot and cold chips and nuts and sweets and all of that kind of picky snacky kind of foods as well. And so I just wanted to pop in and remind you that all cravings are not who you are. They are not in control. They are just wiring, firing. So it's a bit like if we go to our little beautiful brain here, okay? So if our beautiful brain is being stimulated by an external craving, so our eyes see something in the external world, or our nose smells some hot chips, or we see somebody eating chocolate, or we walk past the vending machine and it's there, or down the supermarket aisle, whatever it is, then the eyes send a message to the cortex of the brain, which stimulates the path of least resistance. The brain just goes, it's always trying to find patterns, it's always trying to find memory to attach to it. And so it stimulates the same thoughts that you've been having forever, which is, I must have that chocolate, or I can't resist that wine, or I'm the kind of person who can't stop eating bread, or I can't lose weight permanently, whatever it is. What we want to do is recognize that that's just wiring firing at the surface of your brain. If you let it continue, it will get stronger, and it sends a message to our drug dealer part of the brain, which is deep in the center of the brain, called the limbic system. And that will stimulate the emotion, of needing it, the urgency, oh my God, you've got to have it, you've got to have it. And if it's a addictive kind of need, or a long-term habitual need, there might even be physical responses, such as, shakiness until you get it, or all those kinds of things. Then there's obsessive thoughts that go back to the surface of the brain that go, see, I knew it, the urge is there now, and it's stronger, and it's now emotional, so I knew I needed it, and I can't resist it. By that stage, the stress has started to accumulate in the brain, so the third part of the brain, this cerebellum area of the brain, whose role it is to keep you calm, to keep you safe, to keep you alive and breathing. It's where the fight and flight response occurs. So when that stress accumulates in the brain because of the battle of the part that wants it versus the part that doesn't, then that part of the brain stimulates the normal pattern of what you've normally gone to do. The brain is looking for patterns, what you've normally done to satisfy that stress. So if you've learned as a young child that, I don't know, honey on the dummy or the pacifier makes you feel calmer, or you've learned that food on a Sunday with the family around the fireplace is comforting and makes us feel loved and nurtured, then the brain will stimulate everything at this level to make you reach for more food, and the vicious cycle continues. So what we want to do is make sure at some point along that cycle, whether it's at the cortex level, whether it's at the limbic emotional level, or whether it's at the urge, the subconscious urge level, what we want to do is interrupt the neural pathways, just like a light switch. That's what craving control techniques are. The control techniques in my CPR brain training approach is controlling what's not working by switching it off, like a light switch. And it's literally that simple. So one of the easiest things you can do on the run is to literally just blink 3 times. So you're going to consciously blink as you think about the food. Then you're going to roll your eyes in a big circle one way, and ensure you get a full circle. If your eyes seem to get stuck anywhere, stop, slow down, and do it again. And then roll them all the way back the other way. Blink 3 times again. And if the urge or the craving is still there and quite strong, if it's kind of above a 3 to a 5 on a scale of 0 to 10, then I would also yawn. You open up your chest. That's going to calm your central nervous system down, and what it's going to do is switch off all the wiring firing going to the stress part of your brain and help you alleviate some of the stress so that your brain gets the message that it's now safe, that maybe you don't need to do what you were doing. And so after you've done your blinks, your eye rolls and your blinks again, and you've yawned and opened up the central nervous system, then just take a moment to assess how intense is the urge or the craving. If there's still this fight, if it's still above a 5 or a 6 on that scale, then what you would do is go in and do one of my brain training control recipes, which I will do in another email, where over the next week or two, where we'll give you some control recipes as well, or just do the eye rolls and things again in the meantime. If it's below a 2 or a 3, it means there's kind of no energy around it anymore. There's no impulse. You can make a different choice now without it feeling like you've got to use willpower. So that's just a very simple, what we call an interruption. It's a light switch technique. The control techniques are switching off the patterns in the brain that you've been following, thinking they're who you are. I'm just the kind of person that can't resist alcohol or beer or bread or pasta or whatever it is. Or I'm just the kind of person who can't lose weight and keep it off. Or I'm just the kind of person who can't blah, blah, blah. And it helps you realize that that's just a story you've been telling yourself. It's wiring, firing in your brain. And you get to learn how to switch it off. So I am Maggie Wild, I am the Potentialist, and it is time to unleash the amazing potential that's in here, to take control again so that you're back in the driving seat. Your brain is just the Simon Says part of you that responds to all the instructions that you give it. So if your mind is giving your brain instructions of I'm useless, hopeless, I can't resist, I'm this, I'm that, I'm to this, I'm to that, your brain just acknowledges yes to everything. It just follows the path of least resistance and activates the patterns. Your role is to get wise and be smarter than your brain and go, maybe, just maybe, that's not who I am. And maybe if I recognize it's all wiring, firing, I get to switch it off too. I am Maggie Wild. I am the Potentialist. I look forward to speaking again soon.